Morning meeting. So, it's 2025. Welcome to 2025. What are you planning to do in 2025? Yeah, what are you going to do? See, I don't set goals. That may seem a little strange, but I don't really do that in the way that I used to do it. I just have a different approach now. So, one of the things that I do, some of you might realize this, I have a book that I put out before the holidays called Anchor. And it can be used as a journal, but it's not necessarily a journal. It is very much a habit tracker, though, because I love tracking habits. And so at the start of the year, I decided I was going to practice a particular technique, tapping actually. I wanted to test it out. And so that's what I'm doing. And I'm using Anchor to track that for a 30-day period of time just to see how that works for me. I'm doing it in the morning. So when I get up in the morning, that's what I do. And then throughout the day, if I find that I need to do it, then I will do it. I just haven't so far. And I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty freaking good every day by doing that tapping in the morning. Like it's like magic, but not. At any rate, I don't set goals the same way that I used to. I know what I want to accomplish, and I just start hitting the ground and running and doing it. That's kind of my philosophy: hit the ground running. And it's kind of the way that I approach things. Um, so I don't sit down anymore and actually go, here's goal number one, and here are the baby steps to get to goal number two. I don't. I'm at a point in my life where I just don't do it that way. And I taught people how to do it that way for many, many years, 20 or something years. I taught other people how to do goals that way. And some people really need that sort of structure. I'm not that person anymore. I don't need that sort of structure to do that. So I'm using my book Anchor to keep track of things. And I have another book in my hand that I've been reading. I just found it at some little store. And I go, oh, I'll pick that up. And it's Deepak Chopra's book. It's the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And I love it because it's just this tiny, tiny book, but great reminders, right? So there's the law of pure potentiality, for example, law of karma, cause and effect. So I'm reading through the book, but I only read like one section in the morning, and then I go on with my day and do other things that I'm going to do that day. But then when I pick it up the next day, so like today, I go back and I read the last part of the previous sections that I've read and then read the next section. And so that's what I've been doing. And I'm finding it really useful to do it that way. It's a great reminder. So I think the next one I'm on is the law of intention and desire is the one I'll be reading this morning. Law of intention and desire. An intention, I always find that an interesting thing because when I set an intention for the day, that's exactly what happens. And I know this to be true. I think of manifestation in the way that if I set an intention for the day, it calibrates my brain. It tells my brain to look for every opportunity to fulfill that intention. And then of course it's going to manifest. That's just the way that I look at it. And I used to tell people a long time ago, before I got married, before I get all of that, I get whatever I want. And if I don't get it, it's because I actually didn't want it, or I didn't want it enough, or maybe I changed my mind. And maybe I didn't realize I changed my mind, but my mind already knew that I had changed my mind. And it's funny to me how that all works because it's absolutely true. I can tell you years ago, this was a really funny example. I was working on one of my books, and this is just a strange example, but this is what happened. I kid you not. In the book, and it's in Hush, my book Hush, I had my character is in Omaha, but she had to come to Fremont, Nebraska, because that's where the case was. And so she was driving back and forth a bit. And at that time, driving between Omaha and Fremont, there was no gas station anywhere. And I remember complaining to my husband about it. I'm like, there just needs to be a gas station. Why can't there be a gas station? Because I try to make things also realistic in the books in terms of setting. I'm like, I need to have a gas station there because in the book I needed her to be able to stop at this gas station. So I wrote that all in there. I wrote that there was a gas station that this character stopped at, blah blah blah. I kid you not. A couple years after I wrote the book and published the book, there was a gas station put in the exact location that I said there needs to be a gas station here. I know that's just strange. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe. I don't know. But I think that's really funny. I feel like I put energy out in the world that said this really needs to happen. And then couple of years later, it happened. Now, I would like to say, oh, that was just once. That's a one-off. No, that doesn't happen again. It's happened many times. Years before that, I was deciding I was going to be moving to Florida, and I knew that I was going to be moving to the Miami area, and I wanted to keep my job, but the company I worked for didn't have any contracts in that area, and I worked with refugees and immigrants at the time, implementing welfare to work type programs, job programs. Okay, so we were divided into 4 regions, and I knew who the director of that region was, and I knew who my director was, obviously, all that. And I was trying to figure out a way to get to Florida. So what I did was I found out who the refugee resettlement coordinator was for the state. I found out all the information. And I was staying with my parents at the time. So I went down to the kitchen and I announced to them, I'm going to go make a phone call right now. And I'm going to call the state refugee resettlement coordinator. And I said his name. And before I get off the phone, he's going to invite me to come to his area and do a workshop before I get off the phone. And I'll do the workshop for free, but he's going to be convinced, and he's going to ask me to come there. And then I'm going to call the director and convince her to pay for it. And my parents like, okay. Went upstairs, took a deep breath, made the phone call. And before I got off that phone, that man was saying, why don't you come to Florida and we'll see what we can work out? I'm like, oh, that'd be awesome. I could do a 2-week workshop. You could hook me up with some other people. We can get this going. Then I got off the phone and called the director and told her what I did and convinced her to pay for it. And that is how it all happened. It was awesome. So that's not the only time that happened either. This stuff happens, and it's because I had an intention. I said, this is what's going to be, and I threw it out there into the universe. Everything's made of energy. Things bounced and binged off of each other, apparently, and then it happened. The unfortunate thing, because there's an unfortunate of this, is that I feel like over time, I've lost a little bit of that magic. And now I've got to come back to that magic because I do believe it. I've seen it enough to know that it works. I know if I put positive energy out there in the world, I will get positive energy back. I know that. It's why I started studying positive psychology. It's why I've said in videos, emotions are contagious. And we need to be very careful about that. Emotions are contagious. It's also why I've said in videos, I'm not going to keep dwelling in dark places. I'm not going to keep sharing stories of crappy things that happened throughout my life because of some racist mofo. I'm not going to do that. That's not where I want to be in my head. It's not that I don't know it happened. Clearly I do. And clearly it affected me in many times a negative way, right? I grew from it. Yeah, that's all true. I became stronger. But I'm not going to dwell in dark places because emotions are contagious. I'm dealing with mine, working through some of that anger that I've had related to some of those things that happened in life, but I'm not going to keep sharing them with the masses because I don't want to negatively influence you. I don't want my energy that might be wrapped up in that coming through to you, and then now you have a shitty day. I don't want that. I want you to have a fabulous day. I want you to have a beautiful day. That's what I want for you. And so positive energy out, positive energy back. That's what this is about. And that's what all the videos will be about. So I'm going back to my roots, positive psychology, neuropsychology, psychology. So when I do videos, you're going to be hearing a lot more about that now. So if you got a question, feel free to ask it. And if I have an answer, I will give you my 2 cents. And if I don't have an answer and your question is intriguing enough, I will research it for you because I'm geeky like that. I love to do research. Anyway, just my 2 cents. I'll see you later.